Não sei se me conseguem ouvir agora bem, Pedro.
Sim.
Pronto, muito bom dia a todos. Antes de mais, espero que estejam bem e agradeço a vossa disponibilidade. Lamentavelmente não conseguimos partilhar este vídeo, que era um bom resumo desta solução área de negócio da Quest. Também quero reforçar o nosso agradecimento à Quest por estarem aqui nesta sessão conjunta, a apoiar-nos também com a apresentação. Também está connosco o Francisco Vargas, que é o Channel Manager a nível ibérico. Também estará a Isaskun Gomes, que é a pessoa que faz o desenvolvimento de negócio, e o César Moro, que estará connosco com a apresentação, que é pré-sales. Também tem a parte da equipa das renovações e a equipa também de apoio ao negócio, mas de qualquer forma o nosso agradecimento. Seguramente nós já tivemos a oportunidade de falar. Para quem não me conhece, o meu nome é Bernardete Carvalho. Eu sou a responsável na Tecadata por desenvolvimento de negócio de algumas áreas, nomeadamente AWS e agora também Quest, nomeadamente em duas áreas de negócio, Microsoft Platform Management e Data Protection. Agora isto vai começar. Quero também, e de relevância, partilhar convosco a Tecadata como um distribuidor de valor acrescentado. Nós temos uma forte presença local e internacional. E em relação à Quest, eu quero aqui partilhar convosco as áreas de negócio, realçar que a Quest abrange várias áreas de negócio. Estas aqui mencionadas são as representadas pela Tecadata. Nós hoje vamos nos focar na área de Microsoft Platform Management e em específico no Recovery Manager for Active Directory, ID. Gostava de salientar que esta área, Microsoft Platform Management, é um conjunto de soluções que ajudam a gerir e a proteger e migrar a infraestrutura Microsoft. Falamos de AD, falamos de SharePoint, Office 365, seja on-prem, em ambiente híbrido ou local, ou cloud, desculpem. E esta é a nossa agenda, na qual iremos abordar os seguintes tópicos. Vamos fazer um overview sobre o Active Directory, o Recovery Manager for AD. Também fazemos uma demo e deixamos um espaço no final desta sessão para perguntas e respostas, e claro, é importante a vossa intervenção, assim poderemos também esclarecer algumas dúvidas, como disse, no final da sessão, ou se preferirem também podemos fazer pós-sessão. Quero também referir aqui que é importante nós estarmos atentos à dinâmica atual e à transformação, que nós vivemos tecnologicamente. Também é importante referir os ataques e a segurança. Cada vez mais estes ataques são estruturados, seja a nível do ransomware ou a nível corporativo interno, um simples descuido, um simples delete de informação, e aqui é a nossa problemática e como é que nós vamos resolver, como é que nós vamos recuperar após desastre e continuarmos a ser produtivos. Agora vou-vos deixar com o César Moro. Não sei se o Francisco quer Vargas. I do not know if Francisco you want to tell us anything else. If no, Cesar will start with his presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernardo. Let's start with Cesar. He's the one that is going to talk about the interesting things.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will now stop to sharing my PPT. So Cesar, it's with you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Bernadette, for your introduction. First of all, sorry because I don't speak Portuguese, so that's why we need to do the presentation in English. So, well, as you may know, I'm not a native English one, but I try to do my best in order to explain everything, all the contents, all the around the solution. And if you have any doubt or you don't understand anything, please let us know, and I will be happy to repeat or explain better the solution. Okay.
Cesar, let me just point out that any questions that you may have during the Cesar's presentation and demo, please let us know in the Q&A section, and after the demo, Cesar will answer to them.
Thank you, Francisco. Well, I'm going to talk about Recovery Manager for Active Directory. that is a solution that Quest put in the market more than 15 years ago. So it's a very mature solution, and it's the best solution in the market that you can find in order to do the different restores or disasters process of the Active Directory. Okay, it's the most complete one because we can cover all the problems that you could find in the Active Directory. So Recovery Manager for Active Directory has had an evolution during the last years, including more and more different scenarios or restoring scenarios. Okay. Now, nowadays, customers are very worried about the problems of the cyber attacks that you could suffer. Okay, because one of the most important attacks that companies could suffer right now is a cyber attack with a ransomware that could let the company without any option to, if they attack the Active Directory, you will not have any option in your environment in order to log on in the different applications, to access to the Office 365 mailboxes, to access to SharePoint, to share information with your customers and so on. So Active Directory is the heart of the Microsoft environment. You must to have different solutions in order to do a fast restoration process. Okay, and that's why Recovery Manager for AD is key, because we can cover from all the problems that you could find in different attacks. Okay, as you can see in this slide, cybercrime damage could cost a lot of money for the companies, and it don't care if it's a small company or it's a big company. Okay, obviously the amount of money is not going to be the same for a small company than from a large one, but maybe for your business to have stop your business for hours or maybe for days could be a big impact in your business. Okay, and maybe you can lose a lot of money, a lot of credibility with your partners or with your final customers. So it's very important to be covered in this situation. Okay, here we have also some numbers that are very interesting about, for example, ransomware is expected to attack a business every 11 seconds by the end of the 2021. So we are experiencing a lot of attacks, ransomware attacks every day. Okay. Also, the average cost of a malware attack in a company could be 2.6 million. For sure, this is an American company. We have large companies around the world, so maybe the average cost for the Portuguese and the Spanish market could be not be of that amount of money, but for sure the losses could be very huge. Okay. And also the Active Directory is frequently impacted because, as I told you, is the heart of the Microsoft environment. Okay, if you don't have Active Directory, your business around the Microsoft solutions will be stopped. You can't access to your mailbox, you can't send mails, you can't access to a file share, maybe you can't access to SharePoint, or Teams is not going to be working. So this is key to Active Directory, having that working without any problem. Okay. And this, as I told you, Active Directory is important because it's the single authoritative source of the users between an organization. Maybe you could have Salesforce, SAP, SAP, or other solutions that authenticates against Active Directory. So maybe all your business are around of the Active Directory. Okay. So control access is mission critical to business applications, and if you don't have access to the app, it's like it will be down. Okay, you don't care if the application is working. If you are not able to access, for you it's like have down the company, the application. Okay. And the risk is because we need flexibility and choice for the ID recovery processes. Okay, we need to have a complete recovery from mistakes, corruption, or maybe disasters. And for example, if you are using the native process designed by Microsoft, it's a complex process. Maybe your IT department has not the skills, the necessary skills to do that kind of restorations. And this is very important because when we are in a situation that we need to do a restoration process, a restore process, if you don't have the skills, you don't have the experience, it's going to be very complicated to have a success in the final process. Okay, that maybe you have spent a lot of hours trying to restore your environment, and finally it's not going to be success because maybe you've lost one little step and you need to do those steps defined by the security guide in all your domain controllers, and this is a very complex process. Okay, you need to rely on Microsoft consultants. They can do that, but the time to do the restoration, to do the restore, could be, for example, a lot of hours, maybe days, and also there are big companies that have been in problems during months until they has been able to have everything working fine in the same way they had prior to the attack they suffered. Okay, we have a lot of customers with this kind of experience, and I can be sure or assure you that it's not a good situation to be in front of one of these problems. Okay, one of a ransomware attack or maybe a disaster. So these are the risks to don't have a good solution as recovery manager. Well, for example, here I have the limitations of the AD recycle bin. A lot of customers said, okay, I don't care about recovery manager because Microsoft has put in place their recovery or their recycle bin in Active Directory. It covers everything. Okay, it's not true. A recycle bin, it's okay, it's nice because in 2008, earlier versions, we didn't have the recycle bin, so it was very difficult to do a granular restoration. And in 2012, 2016, and 2019 Windows, we have the recycle bin. Okay, it's nice, it's an improvement from Microsoft, but it doesn't cover all the problems or all the situations that a company could have in front. Okay, for example, the recycle bin don't bulk or don't restore multiple attributes. Okay, it's not, it doesn't work in a granular way. You need to restore only objects like users or groups or maybe computers, but nothing else. If you have a problem with a specific attribute of your Active Directory, or maybe you have a problem with the DNS that are included in the Active Directory, you are not going to be able to restore it from the recycle bin, okay? For example, you can't restore modified user attributes. Imagine that you modified, for example, the membership of a group, a VIP group. You are not going to be able to restore the membership. You need to restore all group, okay? And for example, the recycle bin, it only has the objects that has been deleted, but not modified. Okay, if you do you modify the membership of a group, that modification is not going to appear in the recycle bin, so you're not going to be able to restore that. Okay, from a early or to an early version. So this is also very complex if you need to restore in a granular way your objects, because the recycle bin will not going to allow that. For example, you can't restore group policies. You don't have a comparison reporting in order to see what has changed and what hasn't changed. And then you can select, hey, I want to restore this object, this other one, and this account. Okay, if you don't have that kind of reports, and this is very important in a restoration, in a restore process, you are going to spend a lot of time trying to analyze what has changed or not. Okay, what else? For example, there's no way to compare and restore group membership, so you can restore the delegation, the ACLs of the Active Directory. Okay, imagine you have modified the ACLs in order to delegate rights to specific users in order to do a RBAC access control. You can't restore that from the recycle bin. Okay, so all those challenges are covered by the recovery manager for AD solution. Here, for example, we have more examples about challenges that companies have and they need to face today, every day. Okay, for example, objects that are modified or deleted, or attributes that could be overwritten by an executed script. For example, that script has a mistake, or if you have a corruption or disaster, everything, you need to recover that quickly. And you can't do that from the recycle bin. You only can restore a deleted user or a deleted group or a deleted computer account, but nothing else. Okay, no changes, not the specific attributes or any object of your Active Directory database. For example, if there is a growing threat with opportunistic bad actors in the AD environment, and you need to be covered by a reliable solution. Okay, maybe for example we have found problems created by administrators that they are going to leave the company. Before leaving the company, they have executed a ransomware or have done a lot of bad actions, and you are not defended against that kind of actions. Okay, because they have the privileges to do that kind of actions, and you need a solution that could do that, the restore process. Okay. Also, compliance regulations require proof of the disaster recovery and backup plans. If you have a recovery manager, you can say, okay, I am in compliance with a specific regulation because I have a disaster recovery plan and a backup plan. Okay, and also I can test this plan every day, maybe twice per year. I can put a stamp saying, okay, we are complying with a specific regulation. Okay. Also, the native tools have some gaps. They are manual and time intensive if you want to, or you need to do a restore process. Okay. Also, the remote workforce increase the chance for AD mistakes, the possibility of phishing incidents, maybe not knowing which objects or attributes have been changed or deleted. As I told you, the comparison reports are key for a restore process. Maybe you're not going to able to delegate restore functions to non-administrators users in order if you want to delegate that process. And also another challenge is to need to document the details of how the disaster recovery plan process will work, including the time frames. I mean, if you are able to set and confirm that you are going to restore your overall environment in maybe 2 hours, that's going to be nice. Okay, if you use the native tools, you are not going to assure that your restore process will take that less amount of time. Okay, so this is important. And here is where Recovery Manager has different flavors. Okay, we have Recovery Manager for AD. Is the basic tool, the basic edition. This Recovery Manager for AD tool allows you to restore any AD object and also to recover it from an attribute level. Okay, so we don't care about if you want to restore only a specific attribute from a specific object. We can do that without any problem. Okay. An example could be that, okay, mistakes happen every day. We are managing and administrating our environment. For example, if I execute a script that modify the membership of the users to specific groups, or maybe I modify the a specific attribute as, for example, to allow the specific business hours to do log on users in specific hours, I can modify only that attribute. I don't need to modify or restore all the attributes for a specific user. Okay, I can let the rest of the attributes without any modification, because maybe the changes of the others attributes are nice or are okay, and I can modify only the bad attribute or the wrong attribute that has been modified. This is very important because I can do a rollback and restore the object in minutes. Okay. To give you an example, I can restore, for example, more than 4,000 users or objects in less than 5 minutes. So it's very fast. If we compare this solution with other solutions in the market that they say that they can do this kind of restores, it's true, they can do that. But for example, we have an example with big and well-known solutions in the market saying that they can restore in a granular way. And for example, a customer to restore 8,000 users, it took more than 8 hours. Okay, because the process, the other tool need to compare the object with the other object, with the backup, I mean, a lot of execution processes. And it, as I told you, it took more than 8 hours. When I did a demonstration, I restored my environment with more than 4,000 users in less than 5 minutes. They were, their faces were saying, "Oh, this is amazing." Okay. So also with Recovery Manager for AD, we can compare a backup with and check the differences between the backup and the what we have in production, okay, in order to detect what has changed or what not. So this is the entry edition, the Recovery Manager for AD, and we have, oh, well, this edition, we said that we have the minimal coverage, okay? We can do the minimal restore process with this tool. The next evolution is Recovery Manager for AD Forest Edition. This version includes, obviously, Recovery Manager for AD, but we have on top the forest recovery process. We are able to automate the forest recovery process with only one click. Okay, so we can restore our forest because maybe we have a corruption in the database, or maybe we did an increase of the level of the domain, or maybe the functional level, I mean, of the forest, or maybe the domain, and we don't have a rollback of that process, or maybe you have changed the schema of your Active Directory, and also there isn't a rollback. If you need to restore your Active Directory, you need to use the forest recovery process. Okay. Manually, with the native tools, you need to do that following a security guide, a recovery guide with several steps that you need to do in all your domain controllers. And it could take a lot of hours, a lot of effort, maybe days or maybe weeks. Okay, we have experience with big companies that it could take more than months trying to restore everything in the Active Directory. Okay, with the Recovery Manager for AD Forest Edition, you can automate that process, and with only one click, you don't need to do anything else, and the tool is going to restore everything in the domain controllers. Okay, so you don't need to have big skills to do a forest recovery, because the tool do the process for you, okay, in behalf of you. So this is the, we can say the medium coverage, because we can do the object and attribute level recovery, but also the directory level across the entire forest, okay? But what happens if we are in front of a ransomware attack where our domain controllers has been attacked and they are not functional, they are not working, then our Active Directory is not online, is not working. Okay, then we have the next version, Recovery Manager for ID Disaster Recovery Edition. This version allows us to do bare metal recovery in the domain controllers in order to restore the domain controllers, the operative system, and on top we are going to do the forest recovery. Okay, so in the same way as we did in the forest edition, we automate that process, so you don't need to do anything during the process. We automate everything in parallel in all the domain controllers. And for example, recovery our environment from a ransomware, it could take only 1.5 or maybe 2 hours, nothing else. And also we can recover from scratch. I mean, imagine that you are not able to recover, restore the computers. Okay, no problem. You can create a new template, or with new templates, you can create virtual machines with the same hardware characteristics, hardware and software characteristics than our domain controllers. And we can put in those templates the bare metal backups from the domain controllers. Those new computers or new machines, virtual machines, are going to emulate the old domain controllers. We can delete the old machines, and the new ones are going to run as the old ones. So we don't care if your hardware or your virtual machines are okay or not. We can put that backups in new computers if it's necessary. This is the complete coverage. Okay, because we can restore from an object or attribute level, we can restore from a directory level, and also we can restore from an operating system level, okay? So we are not to have any other option or any other kind of attack in our environment. Basically, these are the 3 different kind of attacks that you can suffer in your environment. A granular one attack, maybe with a mistake, or maybe a administrator executes bad commands or whatever. They delete a lot of users and change all the security in your environment. Okay, those changes are granular change, and we can cover that with Recovery Manager. If you have a corruption problem with the database, you need to do a rollback with a change in your schema, or you need to have a rollback process if you need to elevate the functional level of your forest, you have the forest edition. And if you have another problem, is that the operative system of your domain controllers has been under attack, the domain controllers are not working, okay, we can restore from bare metal process in the same way as we did with the other options. So there isn't other kind of attacks. All of them are covered by these 3 versions. Okay. What we have with Recovery Manager. These are the specific functions that we have with the Recovery Manager. With the basic version, we have the automatic backups, the comparison reports, and also a bulk or a granular recovery. Okay. Also, with the Recovery Manager Forest Edition, we have the automated forest recovery process. We have an option of create virtual labs, so we can create a virtual lab in our virtual environment that is going to be a copy of our production environment in order to do real restore processes in that virtual labs. Okay, and those virtual labs obviously are the same as the production environment because we work with snapshots. Okay, and we move those snapshots from the domain controllers to an isolated environment, and we do several tests there in order to check that everything is working fine. So virtual lab is another option included in Recovery Manager for ID Forest Edition. Also, we have some tests of forest management and health in order to check that the replication is working fine between domain controllers. After our restoration, if we launch several tests, we can confirm that everything is working fine. The domain controllers see each other without any problem, and replication works fine. Okay, that's perfect. And the Recovery Manager for ID Disaster Recovery Edition has the bullet on the left. We have an automated OS disaster recovery because we do backup from the Windows servers and not only from the Active Directory. Okay, we also done the Windows Server backup process. For sure, we can restore any GPO or whatever. There is another functional or another solution that is called on-demand recovery. On-demand recovery is this or has the same philosophy than Recovery Manager. This solution is focused in restore or do the same processes of Recovery Manager for ID, but in for the Azure AD environment. So if you have an hybrid environment with the on-prem Active Directory and Azure AD, you can have a hybrid solution with Recovery Manager for AD and with on-demand recovery. Recovery Manager for AD will restore your ID on-premise, and on-demand recovery will restore your Azure AD environment. Okay, what we can do? Obviously, we have the different reports. We can do a granular search and restore. We have cloud-only, or we can restore cloud-only attributes, for example, the licenses, the configuration settings. We can restore, for example, a hard-deleted user. We can restore it and also join again the mailbox that it was an orphan mailbox after the user has been done hard deleted. Okay, we can restore the access to Azure applications. We can restore cloud-only users, and we don't care if it's a B2B environment or B2C. We can do bulk recovery of all attributes of users in parallel. We can restore Office 365 groups and the membership of the groups, Azure AD security groups, and so on. All these elements are not being solved with the recycle bin of the Azure AD. Okay, so Azure AD recycle bin only restore users groups, but from the scratch. If you delete them, if you do a modification, you are not going to be to restore or do a rollback of that modification with the recycle bin of the Azure AD. Okay, it's not covered. Also, if you modify the membership of the Office 365 groups, you are not going to be able to modify that. And that's why it's very important if you have a hybrid solution our hybrid environment, to have a hybrid solution that will cover the on-prem AD and the Azure AD environment. Okay. For example, and this is a more technical part of the solution, we have different flexible recovery methods to do the disaster recovery edition. Okay, we can do a restore Active Directory from backup. We can restore Active Directory on clean OS. As I told you, from clean machines, if you put a empty or a clean OS running in a virtual environment, I can bulk bare metal backup on that computer. I can do a bare metal Active Directory recovery. I can reinstall Active Directory in some computers. I can install Active Directory in new computers where I will do a DC promo process. I can uninstall Active Directory, or for example, I can set a do not recover, don't touch this computer during the recovery process, okay? So we can do a lot of things. For sure, you will find the best approach to set different processes or restoration processes. Okay, it's very important to have all these different options in order to do the restore process. This is a snapshot of the, or a screenshot of the environmental recovery process, where we select where this backup is stored, how we are going to access to that backup. Also, if we can put on top a newer system state backup on top of the environmental backup. Also, where this backup is stored. Here we have a screenshot of the diagnose and manage health test. Also, we can detect if our environmental backups have malware inside. So that backup is not going to be good in order to go to that point of time, because if you have a malware inside of the backup, you are going to restore your environment with a malware include. So it's a waste of time. But we can detect if there is a malware in the backup or not. Okay. Also, we can do a files recovery if it's needed, as for example Microsoft recommended that. We can do in the same way as Microsoft recommend, if you want. If not, we can recover everything in parallel in all the different data centers, in the different forest domains, child domains, or whatever. Okay, we don't care. We can do everything. It's incredible, the powerful of this tool. Also, we can create a recovery media where we set the boot image for each domain controller in order to restart the domain controller and then restore it from a bare metal backup. Okay, so we create the WinRA image in order to do the boot, and then point to our solution and move the environmental backup to the domain controller. And I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to share my virtual machines. Let me check. Okay, share. Here I have my environment, my virtual environment. And I'm going to show you, for example, how it works. Okay, we have two different two different consoles. This one is Recovery Manager for Active Directory console, the basic one that allows us to do the online restore of objects for ID objects, or maybe to do the group policy restoration, or maybe to bulk a system state in a domain controller. Okay, that could be an offline restore process. And we have another process, another console that it creates or it executes the forest recovery process or the disaster recovery process. Okay, so for example, if I delete imagine a specific user, I'm going to log on in my domain controller. Let me do some changes in, for example, specific users here in people in Paris. I'm going to Anit Payunowski. I'm going to change some specific attributes, okay? Madrid, telephone number. I don't care about the attributes, okay? We can do everything. So I'm going to execute a online restore. If I click here on restore AD objects online, I have this wizard. This wizard says, okay, what do you want to do? I want to compare and restore and be the changes in a report, or I can compare between two backups. I'm going to execute the first option. I select my domain because it's a multi-forest and multi-domain backup or solution, so you can do that. I select the backup I can use. Now it's accessing to the Active Directory database from the backup, okay? Right here. Next, I'm going to use the nice credentials and administrator, okay? And then I can, for example, if I don't know what has changed in my environment, I can select everything and it will compare all my environment with the production environment, okay? The backup with the production environment. But I'm going to be more selective in order to don't waste our time. In the demo, I will go to only the organizational unit of Paris, okay, where I did the changes. I select that. I want to compare, analyze, and optionally restore. Or if you have everything very clear, you can do the restore process directly, okay? I will follow all the steps. Here I can select if I want to process all the child objects, or maybe that specific object, or maybe if I want to process all attributes or only a selected attributes. Okay, and I want to generate the report. If I select that, now is access. Oh. Oh, why has changed? Why is not the... Well, let me check. I'm going to select another one, the other domain controller. I have selected the backup from the other domain controller. Okay. The same, I select, well, people know because I have a lot of people. Let's select Paris. we install a specific agent in order to do the restore process, and with the agent we can restore also the passwords and everything. Okay, we have found a different object. Okay, and check the speed of the comparison process. We have 869 users. Okay, first of all, I need to view the report, obviously, in order to check, confirm what's going on. In the report, I will see the differences between the object in the backup and the object in the environment, the production environment. Here I have a net, and you can see the telephone number, office location, and description. Well, everything has been added, but imagine that we can, for example, check for modified or for undeleted or deleted or whatever. Okay, I don't care about the kind of change. So I'm going to proceed the restore. I select the different objects. Imagine if I have done a lot of changes in a lot of objects, I can do a granular selection of what I want to restore. Okay, I want to restore everything in the same. It's not necessary to do the report. Okay, I do an incremental replication. It has finished. Next, next, finish. And if I go to the other domain controller, let's check. In Paris, description is empty, office is empty, and telephone number is empty. Okay, the same as I had prior to do the changes. So it has been restored in only 3 minutes. Also, for example, we have the forest recovery version of disaster recovery edition. This is the console where we control the forest recovery process or the disaster recovery process. So I need to connect against my domain, my AD. All the domain controllers are going to be shown here. And I need to configure these entries for each domain controller. Okay. For example, for the DC1, I want to do a environmental Active Directory recovery. Okay. And for example, for the other domain controllers, I'm going to install Active Directory from media. I mean, I don't want to do or to restore them from a backup. I'm only going to restore them because maybe the operative system is not going to be affected or whatever, I don't care, okay? What else I can do? For example, I can restore in a clean OS. For example, if I select that option, as you can see, the wizard has changed and I need to set or fill in the different information. For example, which IP has the target computer. It's supposed that I'm going to have a new computer, a new virtual machine, or not virtual machine, it could be a hardware one, running with a clean OS, okay? Let me know the IP of that computer that obviously it will need to have the same characteristics of my domain controllers. And I'm going to restore the system state of this domain controller in this new computer, okay? I need to set the server access credentials, the backup information, and so on. If I select, for example, the environmental, it has changed here, and then I need to select the backup of the Windows Server backup that we do of the domain controller, okay? Also, we can restore a new system state on top, a newer one on top of the environmental recovery, okay? Also, we can automate the hardware connection in order to do a boot process directly with the WinArray ICO that we have created, okay? And I have a video with the overall process that is going to be faster than emulate a process right now. So let me share the video, okay? It's going to be very fast. Let me check. Okay, this is a process with the restore process. We have execute the start recovery button. It said, okay, you are going to do a restore process of your environment. This is very complex and so on. The user is not going to be do anything, okay? Everything is automated. In this demo, we do a environmental recovery of one domain controller per domain, okay? Check that we have a root domain, the acme.lab. Also, we have two child domains, Poodle and OC child domains. Here is confirmed with this screenshot that we are connected against the computer. We are putting the bare metal backup on the computer, okay? So we are doing the restore process, the bare metal in these three domains, domain controllers, sorry, and these other domain controllers from the same domains, they are waiting until the first ones finish because we are going to install Active Directory on those computers, okay? So I'm going to forward a little bit the video, but we are recovering the C volume, as you can see. And the process is doing all these steps. Now it's doing the restore disk from a Windows Server backup, okay? I will forward a little bit. For example, yeah, check, this one has finished. The first one and the third one has finished and they are waiting until the second one finish because the second one is still in a specific process that now has finished. And again, the three servers, the three computers are executing the next steps that they have, for example, in this step, waiting for a global catalog server to become available. These are the different steps that we do automatically, okay? And if we go a little bit forward, they have finished the first ones, and then the second ones are executing or are installing the domain controller, the domain services from media, okay? Or maybe they can replicate from the first domain controllers that has been restored. And at the end of the video, for example, the fifth and the sixth has finished, and the fourth one is still executing some steps, but it will take only, for example, you can see the overall process start at 5 p.m. 23, and it was in 6 p.m. 12. We have 5 domain controllers restored, working fine, and the sixth one is going to finish in a few minutes in the next video, okay? But our overall process restoring 6 domain controllers from the scratch has taken less than 1 hour. So that's incredible, okay? Well, this has been a fast overview of the overall process. And let's go with the question and answers period. And if you have any question, please let me know. I will be happy to answer everything. Bernadette, you are mute.
Okay, thank you. I will share meanwhile, when someone wants to put a question, I will share just our contacts, okay?
Perfect. Yes. If no one wants to ask right now, I will happy if they send you any question. I will happy to assist them and answer everything.
Como tinha comentado, são 4 áreas de negócio da Quest que nós representamos na TechData. As 2 outras áreas, que é a parte de Information Management e a parte de Endpoint, estão com o meu colega Ricardo Monteiro. Nós fazemos equipa e, portanto, estamos ao vosso dispor para ajudar-vos em qualquer questão que possam ter, nomeadamente em conjunto com a equipa da Quest. Também partilho os contactos deles, mas como disse o César, podem colocar questões e podemos fazê-lo também após esta sessão, e mais uma vez agradeço toda a disponibilidade e a vossa presença.
Obrigado.
Obrigado. Thank you so much.